Hey everyone, Jason Verdelli with Phase 2 Solutions, where digital media meets real business objectives. And welcome to back to our Experts on Issues segment here today. Very excited. We have a very good topic, digital systems integration, really why the future of your business depends on it. And I'm really excited today. We have an awesome expert, a world leading expert in the world of digital systems integration. And if you don't know what that word means right now, don't worry. Dan Siemon from Go Green Paperless Initiative is going to share what that exactly is and really why your business is going to be dependent upon it in 2015 and going forward. So really excited to have Dan on the line here today. Again, Dan is a world leading expert in digital systems integration. He's got over 25 years of experience as a programmer, as a technologist, somebody who's been behind the code, has actually interacted with a lot of the technology and can speak to experience when it comes to that. The other aspect of Dan is what makes him unique, especially in the development world, is having a vision. Dan has a vision to eliminate the need for paper and to help organizations really grow and scale efficiently by integrating systems together and allowing businesses to do more and start actually returning on their investment from technology. So without that said, Dan, welcome you to the interview.
Thank you, sir.
So Dan, let's go ahead and start off here. Tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to from where you were past 25. You don't have to spend the whole 20. Go over the whole 25 years, but how you got to where you are right now with Go Green Paperless Initiative, and explain a little bit about what that exactly is.
All right. Well, Jason, I started learning programming back in the mid 80s on a Commodore VIC-20. From there, I started helping people with simple tasks like organizing their business, some financial tasks, ledger stuff, simple stuff back in the day. Grew into custom programming. In the early 90s, I got into web design. And from there, I have been integrating systems with various databases, with various other systems. And about 5 years ago, I got into the mobility side of things, which is mobile app development, responsive web design, and from there, I made it easier for people to be mobile with their systems, and essentially started eliminating paper, started to digitize their systems, and give them a mode of doing business from anywhere.
That's great. And Dan, when it comes to, I want to just the term Go Green Paperless. Tell us a little bit about what that is exactly.
Well, the purpose of Go Green is to try to bring the digital process out of the old way of doing things. Most people are still doing things by the pen and paper. We want to eliminate that by bringing it up into mobility and allowing you to, essentially work from anywhere and eliminate the need for having to carry this paper. Whether you're an insurance agency or a healthcare provider, you can, or a case management worker, you can now, eliminate the need to carry that stacks of paper with you.
Well, that's great. And Dan, when it comes to, I know we say the term digital systems integration, right? Seems, very techy, very sophisticated. And, can you break that down a little bit when it comes to, eliminating paper, working more efficiently in today's world with, a lot of the technology being integrative, your software is being able to talk to other software. Tell us a little bit about what exactly is digital systems integration and really how does, Go Green play into that?
Well, in our view, digital systems integration is the ability to interact with all your business processes. If you're in the field like we are, you use Salesforce. You want to be able to integrate that into your business process. You want to be able to integrate your website or your sales process. In the case of manufacturing or distribution, you definitely want to integrate as many systems as possible. You want to integrate your sales force, you want to integrate your order system, you want to integrate your receiving all into one system where you can do business without having to you know, do things the old-fashioned way with old-fashioned point of sale and old-fashioned. Now everything's web-enabled or device-enabled, and it's integrated.
Well, and the benefits of that, Dan, can you speak a little bit to, businesses that are looking at this? What is the inherent benefit? Is it cost savings? Is it, really where are those benefits?
I think it's a combination of cost savings and time savings. The cost savings is that everything is basically confined in one business process, in one system, whereas the time savings is the old way of doing things is no more. You get to be more efficient. All your stuff is in one place. You can do your sales, you can do your orders, you can do your receiving, you can do your fulfillment. Whatever your business process is, it's done more efficiently, and with a long-term less cost.
Okay, so Dan, with that, with organizations, obviously, so you come into organizations that may have Salesforce, they may have a CRM system, for instance, customer relationship management system, keeping track of all the activity going on in the organization, communication. What are I guess when it comes to that, is there a specific methodology that you take in saying, hey, let's take all these systems and let's get them all to talk to each other and work together? Is there a specific, again, track or methodology that you take to make that happen?
Actually, Jason, we're an agile shop, and what that really means is we have a system and a methodology of not only engaging the customer in the whole process, but allowing them to be part of the overall process of building this system one stage at a time. So we break this down into various stages, from analysis to the development and design to finally the deployment. And the way we do that is that we set up various milestones and we set up various targets that the customer is actually involved in the whole business process. Used to be that you design a system and you say, here you go, and then it's hit or miss whether they want the system, they like the system. Now each phase is a sign off, each phase is a way of getting them engaged so that they are part of the process.
Well, Dan, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think, it's seeming, when it comes to getting systems to work together, there's got to be a lot. I would imagine there's a lot of detail, a lot of knowledge that's embedded in the organization that's codified, but it has to be able to be brought back into in stages. It's not, I guess, do the project and then 3 months later, here it is. So have you seen, you mentioned a little bit of some of the benefits there, but in taking that approach where you're working off in sort of, smaller bites, what is the benefit of that versus the kind of the project approach, which is sort of, hey, we pay Go Green and you go off and you do the project. What is that benefit in the project management approach?
Well, Jason, I think the biggest benefit is that we're engaged in the customer as much as they're engaged in us. And we get to learn their business. We get to learn each individual business process by breaking it down into stages. By the time we're done, we know the business like they know the business. So we can, integrate their systems. We can repair parts of their systems. We can even help with the vision to upgrade into the future by understanding how their business runs.
Well, and that's interesting too. I think when you look at that, it's you're staying with people along that to make that happen, essentially. So now, can you let's break this? I want to break this out a little bit, just so again, not everybody watching this, of course, is a technician and sort of understand exactly even what we mean by integration. So, can you give us some examples, Dan, of some of the projects maybe you've done, or just some examples of digital systems integration in general?
One of my big clients is Book Country Clearinghouse International, and they are the third biggest book distributor in the entire world. And believe me when I tell you, they have a lot of systems, from receiving to inventory to purchasing to orders to fulfillment, and they use a lot of different systems. They use various CRM systems. They use Salesforce for sales tracking. they use Amazon, they use eBay. As a book distributor, I'll tell you, they use pretty much everything. And, integrating their systems with each different module like that, each different business process, it can be really tricky and take a lot of team effort and a lot of different resources to really get that integration done. And one of the processes that we have to do that is our fabulous team building that we do to ensure that we get the right resources by understanding the business process to really efficiently help grow that business. I think what I can say, Jason, is we're just as much invested in the business growth as they are. We're just not, a technical team of programmers that want to get in and get out. We want to be their virtual partner.
Well, that's great. And Dan, so with the example you had mentioned there is, integration, right? So, you said you use, they're using eBay, they're using, they have their own CRM system, they're using all these different channels. Let's define that a little bit further, just so everybody can understand the integration part into that. Can you give just a specific integration or a specific example of what that is?
Well, I don't think there's a specific integration. Every tool has its different things that you can do. Salesforce has its own set of APIs. Microsoft CRM, its own set of APIs. It really comes down to understanding their specific business process. The integration piece is finding the right resources with the right talent to get that integration done. But to define their business process of how we're going to integrate it, we still have to do the same data modeling. We have to understand the relationship between their data on their database and the data in the various pieces that we're integrating, whether it be the CRM or Salesforce or.
Sure. And Dan, I break that down, or I'm taking what I'm taking from that is really what Go Green is doing is it's helping organizations like that to get systems to talk to each other, right? To talk outward and to talk back, right? Using your CRM as a center point, as starting to figure out what's going on without having to log into different systems, create paper processes, as you mentioned. And I think, and just being in technology myself and understanding it, the API, when you say the term API, and I know sometimes tech terms get thrown out there and people are like, what the heck is an API? With that, Dan, what exactly, in sort of broken down non-tech terms, what exactly is an API and how does that really apply to that digital, the digital systems integration?
Well, API stands for Application Programmer Interface. It is basically a middleware with a set of calls that you can call from your program to the middleware to be the communication layer between the program that you're trying to integrate and the program you're integrating with. So it's basically the communications layer. That's basically how you want to think about it. It routes that communication from one system to the other.
Got it. So it's almost like kind of would you say it's kind of like a dog whistle or something like that to some degree? I mean, if you're breaking this down into real life terms, with API would be kind of that dog whistle that, we might not understand as sort of being
it's almost like a bridge between two cities. And basically you go from one city to the next and your integration is that bridge.
I see. Okay. That's a great example too, because I know, working with a lot of different systems, if you have to be able to make that bridge occur, otherwise you end up, eventually just going into the water, and it's tough to, it's tough to really, you're always keeping your head above water. I would imagine it's kind of where the paper processes come in, right? So Dan, when it comes to, so we understand a little bit more about what digital systems integration is, right? Getting these systems, whether your sales systems, your database, to talk to each other, be that bridge, as you mentioned. What an organization that's watching this interview right now that's saying, okay, we understand a little bit, we understand the benefits of this, Dan. What is the next phase in that in order for somebody to take advantage of that?
The next phase is really to have us come in. We're going to sit down with you, and when basically we're going to step through how your business works. That I can't stress enough that understanding the business process, understanding each and every side of that business is really how you get from point A to point B. Without that, you're just writing code. And who knows whether it's going to work. You really have to understand, Jason, if you're the digital media side of the business, I have to come in and understand how your business works. What do you need to be able to talk to? And who's your target? What is your target area that you're missing in your business that we can help fix? What pain point can we get rid of for you?
Interesting, and I think, Dan, when it comes to that, looking at it, I know a lot of technology companies, just studying this and being around for a while, they focus a lot on the technology, a lot on, here's the software, here's what it can do, but less on the business process. And I think taking that first is a really huge step. Coming in and understanding the business first before recommending software or even talking about technology, right? It almost seems like, the new business or the new technologist is the one that understands the business first, and talks, the technology maybe 2 weeks down the road versus from day one. Is that right?
That's correct.
So great. Dan, just as far as understanding a little bit further, is there other examples or possibilities, that simple possibilities? I'm just thinking for an organization who's getting started, saying, okay, Dan, we're not, in your example, book country. We may not be a book reseller or a book distributor, right? But maybe they're there could be a government organization. It could be a small business, maybe a growing professional services firm, who's looking at it and saying, okay, we like the idea of being efficient, getting systems to talk to each other, eliminating paper. These are all cost savings and efficient. It comes down to efficiency, right? So what is a small example or a small project that somebody could get started in this process before going out and sort of making everything paperless?
Well, I'll tell you, we're doing a pretty unique project. It's for the Dauphin County Board of Pardons, and basically it is eliminate the need for somebody to have to fill out a paper form to apply for a pardon. We're going to simply create the form as a responsive web and integrate that system with their current Microsoft Dynamics CRM system. It is very straightforward. The only other integration piece for that is the ability to pay for it online.
Interesting. So would you say web forms or kind of a digital form, and then integrating that into a customer relationship management system? Would that be a first project or a example?
That would be a perfect example. And that's exactly what we're going to do for the Board of Pardons, is simply take their paper form, convert it to digital media, and integrate with their CRM and integrate with their current payment provider.
Well, Dan, I see that, almost like taking a sheet of paper. I always carry the notes, of course, with each interview, but taking this sort of sheet of paper, this that we write on and everything like that, taking this and digitizing it or whatever you want to call it, but putting it into a system that you use to communicate or follow up or to track progress and everything else. And essentially, Dan, with this, it almost seems like everything's kind of, you want to build everything around a centralized database or essentially a source of information. So somebody comes into the organization, a new employee, a staff member, and they want to access maybe a particular document or find something. Is the goal of digital systems integration to kind of to make it sort of one database or one place that they can go to in order to find this information, the form results, the paper form results, and everything else? Is that really the goal at the end of the day, from an operational perspective?
That's a good question. I think the answer to that is one. Even if there's not one database, there's one place you go to get your information. A lot of times with systems integration, you're still having a centralized database, and you're still talking to other systems with their own database. But in the end, Jason, I think the goal is to have one location where they can come and get that information.
Well, and I think the benefits and the cost savings and everything like that is pretty obvious, right? If you can take all the information from, all these different systems and bring it back into one place, whether it's one, probably not one database because there's multiple databases it's pulling from, but having it in one place is critical, because I think so many of us, even with phase 2 solutions and where we're at, we have all these different login systems, all these different systems, right, that we track users, we track analytics, everything else. But ultimately, we put stuff up on Google Drive, for instance, but ultimately, if we have all that back into one system, that, one login, one system that staff members or, whoever needs to access the information can get there without any kind of manual processes and human error. So with that point, I just want to touch on that a little bit, Dan, is human error. I think it seems to me this Go Green, this paperless Go Green effort is really also not just to be efficient, but also to prevent, to eliminate risk in an organization by, human error, mistyping things, everything like that. So can you talk a little bit about some of the aspects of that, human error, when it comes to digital systems integration?
Oh, it absolutely is, Jason. I think the biggest pain point that a lot of businesses have is human error. Whether you're talking about the insurance industry, making sure all your things are checked off, making sure it's legible. You take out that stack of paper, you have people writing down information, you have to go back out, get more information. Whereas our systems strive to at least lessen the human error factor by validating the information, by cross-checking the information, by making sure that you have one place to put that information, and all the checks and balances for that business process are in place, so that there is less chance for human error, less chance for problems, and actually both cost and time savings.
Well, and I think, really this digital systems integration, bringing something back into maybe a centralized dashboard of sorts, right?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah. So, thinking of it like a centralized dashboard, just like the dashboard in your car, right? You can see how fast you're going, you can see, or how slow you're going, depending where you're at. What your, where your oil's at, or, what, you can see all these different reports and different systems that are reporting back to you. But to have that in one place, but more importantly, to eliminate a lot of these mistakes that we end up putting on sheets of paper, and sometimes, just like my handwriting, it's pretty much illegible. So, trying to even understand a lot of times what's on the sheet of paper could be a challenge. So with that, though, I would imagine that's got to be, take out a huge risk factor. Not just the cost, there's the efficiency, giving the ability to scale. But it seems to me that, that risk factor in not getting the right data or misreading something. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of industries that maybe you've experienced, or that you know of that's even a bigger factor for in that human error factor?
Well, I'll tell you right now, one of our products, Jason, is the small games of chance point of sale system. And looking around that industry, what you'll notice is there's a big propensity for human error in compliance. Compliance is the biggest problem with the small games of chance. Making sure your pay-ins and your payouts match what you're sending to the Department of Revenue. So in the end, you stay compliant with the current laws that are on the books, whatever they may be. And that's what we strive to do in all our systems, is help be more of a compliance engine as well, whether it's the insurance industry or the healthcare industry or the small games of chance industry. We want to eliminate not only human error, but take away the risk of problems arising, like getting fined for non-compliance, those type of things.
Well, that's great, Dan. I think, one thing I have to, I really admire about you and working closely with you and having you as a partner at Phase 2 Solutions is also the fact that, you've productized some of this, right? You realize that, part of what you do at Go Green is you've understood, certain, risk factors in certain industries with the game tracker software. Again, making sure that things are being reported to the Department of Revenue properly to stay compliant. And what you've done is you've taken a lot of those consistent things that a lot of organizations, in that case, maybe nonprofits or even the taverns and people that are looking to bring that type of system into their company. You've understood that, but you've also built products around that, which is quite unique, because I would imagine that takes a lot of that upfront burden of what it would take to develop that from scratch. So is that really a big part of your initiative and in future with Go Green, is to kind of build that product base for a lot of those common instances?
That's exactly it. I think one of our initiatives is to identify different businesses with different needs, like the small games of chance or the case management or incident management is a big one that is becoming more and more prevalent. Basic insurance industry that want to have access to information at their fingertips, forms, all digital. Those are the type of things that we strive to help the industry with.
That's great, Dan. I think, and that's what really, as I see it, keeps you not just the developer, right? I mean, obviously you have a lot of technology way beyond myself, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this when it comes to the actual technical side of it. But is having that vision, understanding how and when to productize or to turn something into product in order to allow other people to take advantage of those benefits in those specific industries. So I really think that's awesome in what you're doing with Go Green Paperless, the purpose of that and where that's going, Dan. So I have to really commend you with that and what you've been able to do. So congratulations with that.
Thank you very much, Jason.
So good. Well, Dan, this has been a great interview. We touched on a couple points. We touched on, what is digital systems integration. We touched on the example with the bridge there and getting, essentially trying to bring everything back into one place or one centralized dashboard, essentially, for an organization so they can really operate their business more efficiently, but also, again, eliminate the risk in terms of data and information being passed from one place to another. So we want to build a strong bridge, right? Not just, we don't want to just
one that crumbles.
Exactly. I want to have a good foundation behind that bridge, and I think that's something, Dan, that you and your team have spent the past 25 years doing to get to where we're at in 2015, where it's more prevalent than ever now to have these systems starting to integrate with each other. So I think that's great. Any last words, though, Dan, before we get off the interview? Any last words you want to share in terms of examples, future product announcements, anything like that you want to share with the audience?
Well, Jason, our small games of chance is ready right now and ready to rock and roll. People can start ordering. We can set them up with compliance, both for the nonprofit, like the Legions and BFWs, and the taverns, your basic bars, sports bars, those type of things. We're ready to go, and we're excited to announce an official release of the game tracker software.
That's great, Dan. And I guess when your website for the Go Green, can you just explain a little bit of your contact information, so anybody watching this or those organizations that or maybe you can share your contact information with?
Okay. Well, we're located at 110 Sunset Avenue, and that's Harrisburg, PA 17112. And my phone number to reach me is 717-856-8854.
That's great. And Dan, the web address for Go Green?
It is gogreenpaperlessinitiative.com.
Perfect.
I realize it's a little long, but it fits our brand.
It definitely does. Well, and sometimes those longer domain names are even better, I think, sometimes, and to remember a couple letters, at least Go Green Paperless, much easier to remember.
Right.
So any other points, Dan, before we jump off here?
Jason, I think we're pretty good on our points right now. I think you've done an excellent job of talking to me about our company, and I appreciate it.
That's great. And Dan, we're going to have you back on here. I'm really excited to see what's going on with the small games of chance, being one of the products of Go Green Paperless, and really to get more examples. I think that's one of the things we pulled out in today's interview. It was excellent is some of the examples that you've worked on, some of the process and ways that organizations can take advantage of your services, and more importantly than anything else, because this isn't a commercial, this isn't to just promote business, but the key thing is understanding the benefits. So there's a lot of technological systems out there where sometimes people just look at it and say, hey, let's throw money at it. People, with the approach, the methodology you take, with the years of experience, the team that you're building, and the methodology that you have, more importantly, I think that's the real key thing that's going to that you've already seen success with, that you already have, a great project success rate. But more importantly, I think that's going to benefit a lot of organizations going forward. So I'm excited to see and be a part of your growth, Dan. So it's going to be a fun road. So with that said, again, thanks for watching today's Experts on Issues interview at phase2solutions.net. Again, be sure to tune back in. We are constantly interviewing experts. Again, you could just, if you want to get back, an easy way to get here is to go to expertsonissues.com. Again, that's expertsonissues.com. It'll redirect you right to the section of our site. We have all sorts of interviews with industry experts in the digital media world. So we're constantly reaching out and trying to stay ahead of the industry. So with that said, again, thanks for watching, and we will see you all next time.